What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the second inaugural episode of the Championship Project. I'm your host, Shane Davis, and today I am joined by soon-to-be South Carolina alum Jayden Simmons. He is also the host of the Hoop Culture podcast here at Phantom Sports and the resident Knicks fan, so I'm sure we're going to dive into that a little bit as well. Jayden, how's it going, man?
Hey man, life is good. We're chilling right now, coasting towards the second round in Knicks land, coasting towards graduation
Hey,
over here. So we're chilling, man. Everything is looking up.
good vibes all around over there is what it sounds like. You don't got to be worrying about a game seven right now, which, oh man, we'll get into that as well. But we are going to cover some NBA playoffs. We are in the thick of it. The first round is finishing up here, and I mean, we've had some not so crazy games, some crazy games, some intensity, some a little bit of everything, some clutch shots across the board, some surprises, some. So we're gonna dive right into it. We're gonna start in the West. Obviously, the Grizzlies coming out of the play-in, facing the Thunder. No one thought this was going to be a close series. I think everyone I talked to was having it as a sweep as well. So, Jayden, give me your thoughts on that series in general and kind of if
Yeah,
anything stood out to you.
yeah. I think one thing that stood out to me mainly was just seeing, in that game three when the Grizzlies got out to that huge 30-point lead before John Morant went down. I know that people were making those jokes about Ja afterwards, where he was like, "Oh yeah, I had them figured out. We were gonna come back in the series, but you know, they probably weren't." But it's hard to argue against them when they're up 30 and then a freak injury happens and they blow the lead. But yeah, now the Thunder they had that down pat. They're a dominant team. They've only lost 14 games for a reason, so they're personally my favorite coming out of the West right now. Their defense has just been crazy. Shay's on a different level. Yeah, I mean they did what they were supposed to do. I feel bad for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, okay. Funny thing is, I was gonna make a joke about what Ja said, and you beat me to it. But I think this series just spelled this injury for Ja. I don't actually ever think I ever actually looked into what the actual injury was. I saw the fall, but I don't ever think I ever even noticed or looked to follow through. What was the injury actually?
Yeah, I think it was I think it was like a knee strain or something. It was either
Gotcha,
that or like a contusion. It was something that
gotcha.
ended the series for him.
Yeah, for sure. I just never followed up on it. I was just realizing that, but I think that there's a good chance. I think this spells the end of Ja's time in Memphis. I think there's a good chance that a team or two could take a chance and try to add him this offseason. One team, there's a couple teams that come to mind. We can get into that later on, but I think that the Grizzlies are gonna have to probably go into somewhat of a rebuild mode um, if they do that. And I don't know what your thoughts are. Do you think that now is kind of the perfect time to just say, hey, it lasted while it lasted. It was good, and let's put an end to it.
It's interesting because with me and looking at the Memphis situation, I see a team with a lot of young players that kind of just don't have all the keys yet. Um, I think that honestly, before I were to give up on Ja, I would look at giving up on Desmond Bain or Jaren Jackson and trying to turn those into another co-star. Maybe try to get a Zion instead or somebody else that could be a legit number two for Ja rather than just trying to start from scratch. Just because I feel like they have a team, a core that's good enough to still have those good role players, but they just need that co-star.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Maybe try to go and add someone else, like a Zion. It'd be crazy to see Ja and Zion on the same team after everything, all that hype between the two of them early in their careers. That'd be something
Yeah.
to see. But I think you're onto something there, and you and I were gonna start our off-season guide series here in the coming weeks, and I'm sure when we talk about the Grizzlies, we'll dive more into the specifics of that stuff. But the Thunder obviously move on 4-0'd, and there were that game 4 was close. It was a 2-point victory, 117-115, but the Thunder got it done. They move on. I don't think there was any doubt in anyone's mind about that. Now, they've had this, I don't know, maybe an extra week rest already, it feels like, maybe, around there, and the Nuggets and Clippers still aren't done. They got Game 7. I think that is tomorrow night, I believe. And this is Game 7s are always great, but who needs to show up the most tomorrow night for their team?
I think it has to be James Harden. I think that James Harden has developed a reputation for being a bit of a playoff dropper. You know, when he was a star in Houston, you know, they led the team to like conference finals or second round, but he just never really got over that hump. And, you know, he has that reputation of just failing when it matters most. And he's had 2 big games in this series. He was huge in Game 6. I think he had 28 points. I think that it all comes down to him. If the Clippers want to move on, I'm personally riding with the Clippers. I'm rooting for them because I'm a huge Kawhi guy. I'm a huge James Harden guy. So I think the Harden needs to step up, show that he's not officially past his prime. And if you get, 20 points, 8 assists from him, I think that they can win that game.
Absolutely. And I think it piggybacks on, I agree. I think James Harden is the X factor going into tomorrow's game. And I think it piggybacks off the fact that Denver just doesn't have it all there this season. They've been missing something all season, whether it be defense, and then sometimes their defense is great, but their offense just disappears. And it's like Jokic is the only guy that knows how to actually put a ball through a bucket. And then you even had a game there where Jokic did absolutely nothing, and it was weird. Everyone was like, "This is not normal." So I think it kind of piggybacks on that. If James Harden can show up and show out and take advantage of this lack of defense or lack of identity with the Nuggets outside of Jokic. Jamal Murray dropped 43 the other night, but what else has he done throughout this whole series? Not anything close to that. And so I do think you're right on the point there with James Harden. And Kawhi, I don't know what people have come to expect out of him. I think the expectation bar has been set lower since he's been injured so much and not played so often that people don't expect much from him. So I don't think that we can really say him as the person that's an X factor in this game. Any final thoughts on predictions for tomorrow's game? Any predictions on who's going on?
Oh man, my heart is saying the Clippers, but it's hard to go against Jokic, especially just like in a playoff setting. But the way that Zubac has been guarding him this series, he's really made him uncomfortable. So it all comes down to coaching at the end of the day for me. And of course, the Nuggets fired Mike Malone right before the end of the season. They're operating with a guy who's been coaching for like 10 games in a Game 7 scenario against Tyronn Lue, who isn't the greatest coach, but he's won a championship. He has experience. So even on the road, I'm rolling with the Clippers.
I was thinking we were gonna have a differing opinion, but we don't. I am rolling with the Clippers as well. I do think that both Kawhi and James Harden are going to show up. James Harden's big thing has been the semis and the conference finals. He's been fine getting through the first round. So I do think that James Harden's going to show up, but I don't think he's going to show up next series against the Thunder. I am taking the Thunder against whoever wins this series tomorrow night.
It's so sick to see 2 great teams battle for 7 games just to be rewarded with the opportunity to play the 14-loss Oklahoma City Thunder, man. Like that are one of the youngest and most athletic teams that are coming off of almost a week, that at that time probably I think would be coming off of a week's worth of rest and preparation.
It's a sorry sight to see for them. Now, I think one of the biggest shockers so far this playoffs is Ant-Man, Superman. Doesn't really. I don't know. Batman. I don't care. Lakers in 5 is not happening. Oh, it is Lakers in 5. Lakers are going to Cancun in 5.
They are.
There was all this hype, the whole second half of the season about Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves being the best third option in the league, and then it all falls apart once they get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They played great in the regular season, and like teams play great. The Rockets. 10 years ago, 10 years ago, they were an amazing regular season team, horrible in the playoffs. What do you think went wrong in LA?
I think that there were two main factors as to why the Lakers lost this series. One was obviously just the fact that they don't have a center. They had the Mark Williams trade worked out at the deadline, ended up falling through due to his medical concerns. And so now you're running into a team that has a traditional power forward in Randall and a traditional center in Gobert. And your bigs are a 40-year-old LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, and Dorian Finney-Smith. All of these guys are under 6'9". Like that's not going to get it done. Whether it's rebounding, defending, like they have no identity on like the interior. And then the second reason, a little bit of vindication to Nico Harrison here, but it's something we already knew. Luka Doncic can't guard anything. And so, like, you're getting Ant Edwards in isolations against Luka, and he's just torching them the entire time.
Yeah, I was going to say the Luka thing is probably what stood out the most to me. I'll get into the fact that JJ Redick has some sort of personal beef or vendetta against Jackson Hayes. I think his youth and verticality could have very much helped in that series. He is very, like, he's not disciplined at all. He's not very disciplined at all. And I understand that part, but, and I'll say this when we talk about the Warriors Rockets, you need in the playoffs at some point, you do need to have some sort of young athleticism in there. You can't be riding the coattails of a 40-year-old and a guy who is one of the biggest liabilities on defense. And this series, he struggled offensively. Mm-hmm. He didn't put up amazing numbers that everyone is expecting. And so I think that it all was a recipe for disaster coming in. And I think Lakers fans had the bar set way too high as far as, because, in the playoffs, you got to play defense.
Right.
You can win regular season games just playing good offense, but in the postseason, you got to play defense. And you got to play paint defense. You got to protect the paint. And they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm. I think that the silver lining here for the Lakers and for Lakers fans is just knowing that, yes, the first year with Luka didn't end up the way that you wanted it to, but the man's 25 years old. Like, it doesn't matter when LeBron retires, when he decides to step away from the game. You still have another decade of Luka Doncic keeping your team in playoff contention. So, you acquired a midseason. You're going to enter the offseason and now have the opportunity to build your roster around Luka Doncic rather than building around LeBron James. And, they'll be back in this position next year. They'll be back in this position in 5 years. They'll be back in this position as long as Luka is wearing a Lakers uniform. So, not too much to sweat for him. It didn't work out this year, but Nico Harrison gave up on a 25-year-old superstar. So,
hey, and we gotta shout out Anthony Edwards, man. The dude's crazy. I think that. And I heard it. I don't remember where I heard them talking. That they talked about this. I don't remember who it was, but they were saying that the NBA needs a domestic face, and that Anthony Edwards is that guy. It's one and 1A with him and Jason Tatum. At this point, is the domestic faces of the league. Because obviously you have your Giannis, your Jokic, your Luka. But you need a domestic face here in the States, and Man, Anthony Edwards, he's got the personality, he's got the intensity, he's got the athleticism, he's got the touch. I mean, he led the league in threes this year. So I'm excited, and he's young. I think he's around. Isn't he younger than Luka? He's like 24 or something like that.
It's crazy.
23, 24. But so we get another 12 years of Ant. So I'm very excited for that. And what I'm not very excited for is Sunday night. Warriors Rockets Game 7. If for those of you that obviously you don't know, we are recording this, I don't know, 30 minutes after Game 6 ended. So I'm still reeling with emotions. I could probably spend 90% of this episode talking about this game. But Game 7, Houston, it's a young, gritty, athletic team led by a veteran championship-winning point guard in Fred VanVleet. And he balled out tonight. I don't remember. I didn't pay attention. I stopped watching with like 3 minutes left, so I don't know exactly what he finished. But I think he finished with 27 or more, I believe.
Yeah. He ended with 29, 8 and 8 on 7 for 13.
29. And I mean, shout out! I'll give my props to Fred VanVleet. But I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. I was just telling Jayden before I hit record that this whole time I've been thinking if we can't close it out in 6, I don't like our chances of closing it in 7. That stadium, that arena is going to be loud. It's going to be hostile, and we'll see. But if there is any single team in the NBA that can do it, it's going to be the Golden State Warriors. It's built in their DNA. They are built for it. Championship ring after championship ring, and then you have Jimmy Butler, who doesn't have a ring, but he doesn't get fazed by the big moments. We need Buddy Hield to score more than 0 points, especially if you're starting him, especially if you're starting him. And Kuminga obviously didn't play again tonight, which I know that they aren't playing him because having him and Jimmy on the floor kind of creates imbalance. But I think you need his athleticism and his verticality. Jayden, what are your thoughts on this series as a whole and going into Game 7?
So I'm worried for the Warriors in Game 7, and there's a couple reasons why, but the biggest ones are Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. For Fred VanVleet, I'm worried because this is a guy who pretty much in the entire regular season wasn't doing anything close to what he's doing right now in this series.
It's ridiculous, dude.
We don't get 30 bombs from Fred VanVleet. We don't get 3 consecutive 25-point games from Fred VanVleet. And so the fact that he's been able to do this means that he's found a weakness that nobody was anticipating. Fred VanVleet, in my opinion, is on one of the worst contracts in basketball, and his value had dropped low enough to where I was convinced that the Rockets weren't going to bring him back this offseason. So, like, the fact that he's been able to expose the Warriors' defense is a bit concerning, but, you would think that eventually he has to fall back down to earth. And if there's any time to fall back down to earth, it's a win-or-go-home game. But that swings into my other point of Jalen Green, who is one of the, admittedly one of the most up and down players I've seen in basketball. But you look at his numbers across the series: 7-point game, 38-point game, 9 points, 8 points, 11 points, and 12 points tonight. We know he's due for another big game, and the same thing that went with Fred VanVleet. If he dropped 40 in Game 2, what makes me think he's not going to do the same thing in Game 7? So everything has been working out in the Rockets' favor, even though they really haven't been playing up to their regular season standard. So if they do lock in, and you got Ime Udoka lighting the fire under those guys, it could get scary.
It could get really scary. The Warriors, They can do it. If I do think they can definitely win Game 7. They went into Sacramento, which honestly at that time I think was more hostile than Houston was, and with the whole light the beam thing, and it's just like 2 hours from each other, in-state rivalry and all that, and Steph went in and dropped 50. Granted, I don't know how bad his thumb is, but and to your point, Fred VanVleet's not going to have another night like that. It's possible Jalen Green could have a night like that. The Warriors are not going to have another night where they miss 10 straight threes and 14 straight shots in the fourth quarter. That's not going to happen again. Steph's not going to go 8 for 21 or 6 for 20. Was it 6? Where did he go? I think it was actually like 5 for 21 from 3. And, or 5 for 18 or something like that. I don't think that's going to happen again either. So it's a matter of just making the right decisions and executing. Win the rebound battle, especially do not let them get offensive rebounds, and then don't turn the ball over. But do you who do you got winning? We'll finish with this. Just who do you have winning Game 7? Just quick, right off the dome.
I'm going with the Warriors.
Okay.
I'm not going to bet against Steph Curry in a Game 7. I'm not going to bet against Jimmy Butler in a Game 7. I'm inclined to bet against Draymond Green, but I'm still not going to. The experience has to win at the end of the day. That's my take there.
That in Game 7 in the playoffs, that's what it comes down to. You can be young, athletic, but experience has just as much of a hold on Game 7s as athleticism and on the court talent does. And the Warriors, I think, are just as talented, maybe slightly less, but they also have a wealth of more experience. So I do think that I'm going to go with the Warriors too, partly because that's my team, as you can see back here. But also, I do think that the Game 7, with how Jalen Green has played, I get your point that you made, but I personally don't think he's going to show up like that for Game 7. I don't think we're getting a 40 bomb from Jalen Green. I could see him dropping 20. I don't think that's out of the question, but I don't think we're getting a 40 burger from him. But we'll see. Game 7 is on Sunday night, and I will be nowhere to be found. You will not be able to contact me no matter what. We're gonna hop over to the East, and similar to the Thunder, the Cavs just ran right through the Heat. The Game 4, 138 to 83, 55-point win. That is a squash fest. I don't think there's much to talk about this. The Heat missed Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, and I think that the Cavs are better than everyone even thought they were, because the fact that they handled the last two games without Darius Garland, how do you win by 50 points without your all-star point guard? That's crazy to me.
That exactly, and that's just I don't think there's a team. Honestly, I don't think there's a team in the Eastern Conference that can stop this team right now. I don't think. I think we'll get to it. We'll get to the Celtics. I don't think they could even stop the Celtics. Could even stop them. This team is absolutely frying right now. They are on a roll. They want all the smoke, and they have been getting it this whole regular season and those 4 games. So we'll drop down. It's enough talk about that. But the Pacers Bucks, little bit dicey to start the series, a little bit dicey to end the series. I mean, it's a great one and done for the Pacers. Let's just say that. Your thoughts on that series?
I think that, so I picked the Pacers, entering the series just because I feel like the Pacers have had the Bucks number for the last couple of seasons. They eliminated them last year as well. And also the Pacers have just been rolling ever since pretty much All-Star break. They they rattled off so many wins in a row, and like I remember they were like the 7th seed. They were able to fight back, and they finished only a game behind of the 3 seed. So it's not like this is just any typical 4 seed. It's a 50-win team. Halliburton has been insanely clutch, been a really good playmaker. Siakam is falling into his role perfectly too. And entering the series, it was just I was giving the advantage to the Pacers, but it was more so because I looked at the Bucks and I see it's Giannis and nobody else. It's like you gave up on Chris Middleton, who was one of the franchise's best players, for Kyle Kuzma. I don't understand what they were thinking when they made that trade. Like, Kyle Kuzma came out in game 1, played 23 minutes, and didn't register a single statistic. How do you
I know,
trade for
I
that?
saw that. I saw that. People were frying him online.
So you're like,
and I
Giannis
remember
had such a good series, but like he just has nobody else.
Yeah, no help at all. And Giannis has the type of help that Lakers fans claim LeBron has. Let's just be real here. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
That's the help that people claim that LeBron has or doesn't have. Giannis really is going through it. Now, this doesn't technically have to do with the series itself, but do you think that this injury has potentially marked the end of Damian Lillard's career?
I think so. Not from a perspective of I don't think he'll ever play basketball again, but I just don't think that he's going to be he's not going to be a star, and he might not even be like a starter caliber player. I mean, the blood clot injury was already, enough to deal with, but to come back from that, push yourself back, and then tear your Achilles, like he's 35, man. It's hard. It's already a difficult injury to come back from, but you're a 35-year-old guard. Your athleticism was declining, but you still rely on your athleticism just a bit for your craftiness around the rim. It's really tough for me to see a road of Dame staying Dame after this. And, of course, he's going to be out for the entirety of next season. So, just wishing the best for him, hoping that he can come back and still be able to at least play basketball. But, when you're coming back, you're going to be almost 37 years old,
Yeah, and I saw, I think it was ESPN put out on Instagram, the history of players coming and their Achilles injuries. And how long it took them to come back. Some guys took them 2 years. Yeah. So I do, sadly, if he comes back and is able to play like again, I'm not sure he'll be a starter on whatever team he is on. It's just sad. Such a good career, but he was never able to get that one thing he was chasing the whole time.
Right.
But I do think he had a great career, and he'll be forever remembered as a Blazer specifically. Sure. I know Portland's always going to love him. Now, the series that we are going to talk about next is Jayden. You're going to love this series talk. The Celtics and Magic.
Woo! Yeah.
The 2 and the 7, 4-1. Celtics and 5. Not much really to talk about here. The games weren't like crazy, but not much to talk about. Everyone expected this. Yeah. Everyone had a feeling that maybe the Magic would snag one, and they did. Mm-hmm. But overall on this series, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that this series taught us a little bit more about the Celtics than it did anything, and it's just that they're still the defending champions. They're still in the midst of their long tenured dynasty, but it's just like there's that sense of unease. Tatum missed, I believe, 2 games. Drew Holiday is playing through an injury right now. Porzingis is, he got cracked on the head, and so he had to play through that. And then Peyton Pritchard was kind of like a no-show throughout the entire series. And of course, like all of this can flip a script at any time because the Celtics get hot and then they look unstoppable. But it's just those little. As a fan of a team that has dealt with a lot of mini injuries during a playoff stretch, they really add up. And if they don't get adequate rest, I'm concerned for the health of them throughout the duration of the playoffs. not saying that it's taken away from any of their anticipated success, but I just hope that they're able to stay healthy and hope that they're able to get enough rest in between series to ensure that their guys are good and ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want. I hate the whole injuries thing. Like, it sucks. I want, if you're gonna play a team, you'd want to beat them at their best, because then you'll have the whole cupcake series, cupcake championship type thing, with the easiest path to the finals. Like, that's what people were saying last year for the Celtics.
Yeah.
With the Halliburton's injury, and then I think Giannis got hurt in their
Yep.
series, and so that they compared it to the Mavs having to go through team after team after team, like hard fought series. So just hope they can stay healthy and, like you said, get the rest they need, and play 100%. Because I really need them to win the next series, man. Against the winner of this Detroit New York series. I don't know if you're familiar with either of those teams very much or not. Loosely. New York 1-6. Crazy ending to Game 6. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. This series, it raised my blood pressure a lot. Mainly because, yes, the Knicks won the series. Yes, we won in 6. But it felt like we were playing with our food a little bit. All of those games were really, really close. The last 4 games all decided by less than 4 points. And the thing that angers me the most about it is that it wasn't as if this was like a Trae Young scenario back in 2021 where one player on the Pistons is just single-handedly taking over games. Cade Cunningham played well in the series. I'll give it to him. He averaged 25, 8, and 8. But his shooting splits were rough. He shot like 43% from the field and 18% from 3. So it's not like he was single-handedly killing us. It was just bad team defense. Malik Beasley would hit a couple of open threes. Isaiah Stewart was not Isaiah Stewart. Jalen Duren was killing us on the boards. It was just like we would get huge leads to start games, and then they would disappear. And I just thank God for the clutch player of the year, Jalen Brunson. He quite literally single-handedly led us to every single win that we got in that series. He had 3 fourth quarters where he had 12 points, including the one last night. And it's like, people have been, saying what they want about Jalen Brunson, saying he's a foul baiter, this, that, and the third. Yes, he does sell in the paint. That's what a small guard is going to do. But when it comes down to it, Jalen Brunson is really, really good at putting the ball in the basket. And the list of players to open up a playoff stretch with 4 consecutive 30-point games: Michael Jordan, Jalen Brunson. That's it. The dude steps up in the playoffs and gets things done. So that's been my saving grace, just exiting this series, knowing what we're going into next round. But my hottest take of whatever this playoff run has us ending is, I don't think Tom Thibodeau needs to be here in the summer. I think that it's about that time for him to move on, because while he is a good floor raiser, his coaching schemes have led very less talented Knicks teams to the playoffs. He's not a championship level coach. He's not a guy that's going to maximize the most out of his stars. And that's what I saw most in this series. And that's why I'm disappointed that we didn't beat the Pistons in 5 or 4. And I know we're not going to beat the Celtics. So I don't see a reason for Tom Thibodeau to stick around after this season.
All right. You heard it here first from the New York Knicks expert, all things New York Knicks, Jayden Simmons. I was talking about Jayden Daniels earlier today. It just came out. Now, we'll hop over into the second round real quick. There's a couple of games. Obviously, we both are taking the Clippers, so we'll say they're winning, and we're both taking the Warriors. So we're gonna project that they win for the second round. Just real quick, fire it off. Thunder Clippers. Who is the MVP of that series, and who wins?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP of the series, just like he's the MVP of this year in the NBA. And I have the Thunder winning in 5 games.
5 games. Okay. I am also going to say SGA is the MVP of this series. I'm taking them in 6. I do think that the Clippers. I think the Clippers are probably going to win their first 2 at home. That's my guess. Is that it's going to go 2-2 and then go back to Oklahoma City and then they're not going to win. The Lakers. The Clippers aren't winning again. Lakers aren't winning again this offseason either. Timberwolves, Warriors, same thing. Who wins? Who's the MVP of that series?
I'm going with Ant Edwards as the MVP of that series, and I'm taking the Timberwolves in 6 games.
Timberwolves in 6. Okay. I'm going with the Warriors in 6. And actually, no, I'm going to go Timberwolves in 6. I'm going Timberwolves in 6. Trying not to be a little biased fan. Timberwolves in 6. I think they are very close games, though. I don't think there's going to be a blowout. I don't think there's going to be a game outside of 7 points, 7-point difference. And I'm also going to go with Ant as the MVP for that. Cavs, Pacers. Who you taking an MVP?
I'm taking Cavs in 6. I think the MVP is Evan Mobley. I think that he'll be the most important, factor to this series. I think that the Pacers are a lot, closer to the Cavs than people are giving them credit for. But when you have the Defensive Player of the Year, he's going to know what to do. He's going to know how to expose those matchups. So I'm taking Mobley and the Cavs in 6.
All right. I'm going Pacers in 6. I'm just kidding. I'm taking the Cavs in 5, and I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell as my MVP. Sure. Just to be different. And Celtics, Knicks.
I'm going Celtics in 5. I think that Jaylen Brown will be the MVP of the series. Main reason I'm saying that is because I anticipate that OG Anunoby is going to be matched up against Tatum and Mikal Bridges is going to be matched up against Brown. Brown has Bridges' number. Brown knows how to step up when Tatum is limited. And at the end of the day, their shooters and their depth outmatches the Knicks by a lot. Their coaching outmatches the Knicks by even more. So I think that Brunson leads us to a win in the Garden. But Celtics in 5, Jaylen Brown MVP.
Okay, I'm going Celtics in 4. You are 0-4 in the regular season against the Celtics, and I don't think you're going to get a one in the win column. I'm taking Celtics to clean sweep the Knicks, and I think for some weird reason I have a weird hunch that Derek White is going to be huge for the Celtics this series. I think he's going to hit a lot of clutch shots, and I think he's going to have a few big games. So I'm going to go with Derek White, actually,
Derek White
as the MVP for that. It's the Warriors too. Every single time we get we like play a team that we're like, oh, okay, we can do this. Their 6th man or 7th man just absolutely goes off for 30, and we're like, what just happened? Why is this happening to us? Like Naz Reid. Naz Reid is the Warriors' kryptonite every single year. That's why I'm going Timberwolves in 6. Dude just can't miss 3. He becomes Steph Curry when Steph Curry's on the floor. It's crazy. Circle back real quick. I want to talk about something in this off season. Giannis. Is he staying? Do they move him? Does he request a trade? Who are potential suitors? What are your thoughts there?
So I think that Giannis is too prideful to request a trade. I think that he kind of like has that built humbleness and loyalty. Like that's what his brand is. But I do think that the Bucks do end up moving him because I feel like I don't think that they're going to be like shopping him, but I think that they're going to get a lot of calls about his availability, and they're going to get a lot of trade packages that it's going to be really hard to say no to. In my mind, the 2 biggest contenders are actually the 3 biggest contenders would be the Rockets, the Spurs, and the Nets. I think that the Spurs, in my opinion, have the best trade package available, especially if they move up in the lottery next week, end up getting like some really high draft picks because they have 2 of them. So, be able to entertain in the trade package. They could possibly include Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson. They have guys that that have high ceilings and are still young and a bunch of draft capital. So I think that the Spurs will probably be the biggest suitors of Giannis in the offseason.
Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine trying to get a layup against a Wemby and Giannis protected rim? Good luck. And then you got rookie of the year Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox out on the outside just shooting the lights out.
Yep.
That would be probably my pick, honestly, to take the 2 seed. I would even say they could take the 1 seed from the Thunder, honestly. I do think the Spurs are probably the best option as well. I know there's been a few teams that have always kind of the last couple of years kept their pulse on it, and I know the Warriors did make a call after the Kevin Durant trade fell through before they got Jimmy. I don't think he's going to go to the Warriors. I think that they'd have to give up Jimmy Butler for him, and I don't think they want to do that. So I think the Warriors specifically, quick tangent, I think they're going to find a true center this offseason somewhere else, though. I think that's what they need to do. Anyways, Kevin Durant. I want to get your thoughts here as well. Kevin Durant. Who do you think are the couple best suitors for him as well?
I think that once the Rockets strike out on a Giannis trade, I think that they try to go all in on either KD or Devin Booker. I think that KD fits that team really, really well. As you can see, they're a really young team, but they have a lot of like depth and a lot of guys that are not afraid of stepping into that position and showing up when it matters most. But the scary thing is they have guys that aren't playing that also have high potential. Like you got Cam Whitmore, you got Reed Shepherd. So it's like, whether they're moving those potential guys or whether they're moving like Atari Eason in the trade or giving up on Jalen Green if they don't feel like he's been satisfactory. They can move that and find a spot easy for KD. I feel like the team's already built for KD as a scorer. So I think the Rockets would be the best destination for KD.
I agree. The Rockets this season, their half court offense is horrible. Mm-hmm. They're really good in transition because they're so good at turning the ball over. Their defense is amazing, but their half court offense is not very good. And so they just need a pure scorer that they can go out and just get a bucket when you need. And I think that this Kevin Durant is perfect for the Rockets. He's built his play style nowadays is built for what the Rockets are doing because he doesn't have to worry about playing intense defense because he's got young guys that are talented around him that can make up for it there. Just go get a bucket when we need you to get a bucket. I think another team that would be not necessarily like I don't think there's any potential for it, but I think one that would be interesting is the Knicks. I don't know what a package would look like. We don't have to get into that or anything like that, but I think it would be interesting to see what KD could do with the Knicks as well. Sure. What was the other? I had a couple other names in my head. We already talked about Ja, kind of. Did you get? Who do you think? Ja, I don't think I asked you. Who do you think Ja would be a good team to go to?
On first, I don't know why this team's in my head, but the first thought I had was Toronto. I feel like they have a core that's like just needs that final piece of pulling it all together. I really like Scotty Barnes, but I don't see Scotty Barnes as a number one option. I also don't see Brandon Ingram as a number one option. So, if it means like giving up on Grady Dick or Emmanuel Quickley or, another one of those young guys that you can see some glimpse in, but you're not fully sold, buy in on Ja Morant and get him to come pair alongside Scotty and Ingram and just see where it can take you. Especially in the Eastern Conference because, that's wide open.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. I'm actually going to go with the Magic. I think the Magic you got Wagner and Banchero, but they're not 3-point shooters. And I think what Ja could help do is he could help elevate that 3-point shooting on that team and also just give that extra athleticism and just that oomph of kind of just confidence. And I think he could really help that team. especially on the offensive side of the ball. There was one other name I had. I can't. Why am I struggling to? Why did I forget it? Crap. Oh well. Before we go, if we get to it, if I remember, we'll re-record this whole episode. Just last question for you tonight, Jayden. 10 rounds, 10-round boxing, traditional boxing match. 2 minutes per round. Who you taking, Draymond Green or Dylan Brooks?
Ooh. I'm taking Draymond. I'm taking Draymond mainly because we've seen his punch on camera. We seen him take out someone earlier. So yeah, I think he got the power advantage for sure.
Draymond by TKO or just straight up just sleep him or by decision?
4th round knockout, Draymond.
Okay, 4th round knockout. I like it. You heard it here first. Let's get it set up here once Draymond retires, because we all know that Dylan Brooks he doesn't need to be in the league anymore. Jayden, thank you for joining me tonight. It was good talking about this. Great playoffs so far. I've been loving it. I know everyone's like, "Oh, the first round doesn't need to be 7 games." I like it. I don't mind it. It makes it
does.
Playoff basketball. It's more intense. It makes it more fun. So give us a little bit more of it. Why not? I don't care. Thank you for joining me. Any last thoughts before we close it out? Hot takes, questions, opinions, shout outs, plugs, anything.
You know what? I hope that Cooper Flag goes to the Washington Wizards because they have a sneaky young core, and I think that he fits very well alongside them. That's it.
Okay. Dylan Brooks, let the chef cook. Warriors in 7. All righty. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you in the next episode. This is the inaugural squared episode of Championship Project. Signing out. All right.